Do you want me to start with my name? Okay. My name is Nicolas Limanov, and today I'll be doing the Zetron, Plextron procedures and paging class. All right, does anybody know what the Zetron pager does?
What's that? Out tones.
Oh, it's out of tones, and what else does it do?
It activates the fire sirens of the town.
It does. Okay, I was going to print out this presentation for you. Unfortunately, my printer was having troubles, so Al's going to email. Everybody's going to get an email of this presentation. But if anybody would like notes, I can bring paper and notes. But yeah, the Zetron device allows OEM to activate our motor oil pagers, which most of our RACES members have who are on call. And it activates the pagers for the EMS, the Rescue Recovery, and our 6 fire districts in town, as well as OEM.
And some of the certain leaders.
Some of the CERT leaders, which is under OEM. OEM, there's no certain hazmat, CERT, RACES, we all get that same tone. Beep, 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 beep. All right, we run. In addition to the emergency pagers, the Zetron can also activate the fire sirens for every one of the fire districts in town. There are 6. Now, OEM has 3 Zetrons installed. There are 2 in the EOC room. One is on the radio desk, one is on our ham desk, and the third one's in field comm, right in the middle of our control center.
Nick is slow.
No.
Yeah, what's your
I
name?
will point out, though, that there is a question as to whether or not the Zetron unit on the ham radio desk in the radio room is actually working or not.
I was going to ask the same thing. I wasn't sure if the radio was connected. There is a radio, I noticed, to the right of each radio. It's later in the presentation, but you're supposed to tune the radio to the correct channel when transmitting.
Right.
That is something that we're going to have to test when we come time to test when we can play with it. But that is a good question. I was going to ask that if it was connected. We haven't used them in a while. Ever since I've been here, I don't think we've ever activated tones here. The first time I've ever activated tones was when I joined the Riverdale Police Department's communications unit. So.
We have. In the past,
Oh, you have? I know we did it at a drill we did on field comm. I know Jay activated it. Was the search drill off South Beverwick over there?
We sent out a few tones during Hurricane Irene.
Okay. I just joined.
But just to kind of underscore the point for the ham desk in the radio room, the Zetron is supposed to be hooked up to the far top right-hand town radio. That's what it's supposed to be wired to.
Okay. That is something we're going to have to check to make sure that both units are working. Was that Irene the last that was used?
I believe that the Zetron on the RACES desk has never been used, at least during my tenure here, 8 years. The Zetron on the police desk has been used.
Okay, so both really need to be tested, make sure that they're working condition,
Yes.
that they still work, because we haven't conducted monthly testing or weekly testing. I know the schedule's going to be put together,
Right.
so everybody tests them. We always know that our Zetrons work, that they're capable in case of an emergency and activation.
Right.
We all get a chance, we all know how to use one,
Right.
and they work. And if there is a problem, we're able to debug it.
Right.
How much?
I can keep going?
You turn it on again.
I could review all the 3. Okay, so like I said, just to review, our Zetrons, they page out our pagers for the people who carry them, our 6 fire districts, Rescue Recovery, EMS, and OEM. They also activate the fire sirens, and we have 3 of them. Now, our fire districts and the area served, we have 6 fire districts. District 1, which is located in the Mount Tabor, which is the Mount Tabor Volunteer Fire Department. They cover Mount Tabor and the Powder Mill area, which is the other side of town, the far side of town. District 2, Rainbow Lakes, they cover Rainbow Lakes area. That's going down 46 off Fox Hill Road, all of that. District 3 is Lake Parsippany, all around the lake. All the way up to Parsippany Road. Quick Check is there, and plus the corporate buildings. That's all District 3's area. District 4 is Lake Hiawatha. District 5 is Eastern Parsippany, and District 6 is Central Parsippany. District 5 and 6 cover like that main stretch along 46. They're like divided. Whenever we dispatch, they dispatch on fire dispatch. So there's two things that we use: fire dispatch, and there's also EMS dispatch, which is OEM, rescue recovery. Our two ambulance squads, they're on EMS, but these are on fire dispatch. This was from the new road fire the other day. OEM did get toned out. I was there with Eric and Jay. We had a traffic detail. This is their new Ladder 5 truck operating at that fire, and that's District 6, one of their ladder trucks.
So let's review something while we're on that topic. What's our standing role for when pager folks who possess pagers respond to the EOC?
The procedure should be you're supposed to sign on to the radio, your ham radio that you are the repeater. I'm sorry. That you're responding to the EOC. You sign on. The first person who gets here is known as that operating officer. We have our handy dandy EOC checklist. We start opening it. In this, I didn't have my radio on me. When I got the call, I was actually with Eric. We just split, and I texted him. I said, "You need my help," and he said yes. And as soon as I came here, he had the trucks pulled out. He told me to grab a truck, go, type of thing. So we didn't follow that procedure that's supposed to be followed.
The answer, all of that is correct answer, but what I was looking for was a little bit ahead of that. If we don't hear hazmat in the tone out,
we are activated. We are activated. Yep. If you hear OEM, that means you people who are available, people who have pagers should be responding to the building. That was one of our things. We came to the traffic detail. It was a mess. We didn't have enough people. I was actually stationed by myself on New Road, telling cars. It was a mess. So that's why they're supposed to be, and I'm sure Eric's going to bring it up at the next meeting because he wasn't happy. We weren't able to bring out the apparatus that he wanted and the cones and stuff. But if you have a pager, you should be responding to the building, and we should be following our procedures of these kind of situations. Every time I respond, it's kind of, roll, they need your cones out there, and we don't follow that. Turn on the ham radio, start, all that kind of stuff. So, but to be discussed, I just go with the flow.
No, I understand, but I thought that since we're recording this, that this is a good opportunity.
It is.
To remind folks that those folks who are assigned pagers, that unless it's a hazmat call, we are supposed to be responding to the EOC, even if we think that they're not going to need us, because it's for Eric to decide whether or not we're going to deploy or not. So if we had a pager, we should have responded to the EOC on that call, and that's the point that I wanted the opportunity to make.
Okay, yep, absolutely, thank you. All right, the next thing is on EMS dispatch. We have the ambulance squads, car 65. It's located on Parsippany Road by Lake Parsippany. They cover central and western Parsippany. 66 covers eastern Parsippany. That's Lake Hiawatha. They cover 46. We're IHOP, Rutgers Village. That's all them. Then we also have Port Troy EMS. Port Troy EMS, they don't have pagers. They carry their EMS radio. Before, they used to operate Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Recently, the council passed a resolution. They're a 24-hour EMS service now. So they always have somebody on. I'm not sure the terms of their agreement, how the ambulance squads, I know they had lots of meetings. They worked it out. But you'll never hear them on a pager. Like Port Troy EMS respond, it'll always be EMS dispatch to EMS 1, EMS 2, EMS 3. They have a couple rigs. And EMS 4, if you ever hear that, that's their supervisor. That's the Port Troy EMS chief. So that's with the EMS. Then we have rescue recovery. They have two substations. They have their main stations, Lake Hiawatha. Most of you have been there. And they also have a substation in Lake Parsippany over there. They keep their boats and all that stuff there. And Parsippany OEM, which is also under EMS dispatch. Anytime we're dispatched, you'll hear EMS dispatch to OEM, respond to blah, 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 blah. So that's their line of apparatus for rescue recovery. Field comes down below. The features we have the 15B multi-call enforcer here. Of course, this is what we have here. A lot of police departments, if you go into the communications room in Parsippany and Riverdale, they use a big console station with computers, and they would have this computerized. Like when I go into work, they have a big screen. It's keyboard monitored. It's hard to explain, but you know, we would do the same exact thing, except we use a keyboard, and we can see it on the screen, and it's color coded by districts, fire departments, as well as our police, so we know where everyone is and stuff like that. It's kind of more organized, more up to tech. But we're not going to get that in person probably soon. But the features of this one is it combines digital and analog formats in one unit. It got the single key repage of the last page made. That means if you page out, like say District 1, you could repage it again unless you clear it, you could repage them out again. You might need that if there's a cancellation. A lot of times they call and they might have to cancel. Either they made a mistake, they'll say stand by for a cancellation, District 1, and you can send the tones out again with that message, cancel whatever unit. Multiple pagers are entered into a keyboard stack. Your pagers are programmed through a computer. There's different connections in the back. I'm not familiar with that aspect. That's something that Jay does for us. He programs each pager so the tones go off. So OEM, whenever the tones go off, you know, they go off a certain way. Each of our units, EMS, fire, they have all different kinds of tones. Everyone's different, unique in its way. Automatic transmitter keying and microphone muting. You can do custom two-tone paging. That's what this thing is made for, custom two-tone paging on our Plextron. Serial port supports alphanumeric paging. Keypad programmable for format setup. That's all high, you know, tech behind the scenes stuff that happens if we have to adjust something. Say Fire District 1 switches to a different number, which won't happen, but if it were to happen, it needs to be.
You just hit a wire, shut yourself.
Oops.
Sit.
The analog formats. Wow.
Yeah, I know, we stopped because you were out there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so repeat the last speaking, cut that out.
Where did you stop? Keyboard programmer, like I was saying, the high-tech stuff, that's what Jay does for us. He programs our pagers. If there was a problem or something, they can hook up a computer and set it the correct way. I was going to go in a little bit into digital and analog. The digital, it covers the POC, SAG, GOLAY, Metro, Pageboy, things we don't use, but it could do, you know, various different things. When you're using the POC, SAG, it's a digital capable transmitter. It can be entered from the keypad. Eric, our director. And then we have our Metro Pageboy, which is a Motorola two-tone sequential paging tones. It also supports group call. So, but that's things we don't use. That's, you know, if you want to read further, it's something I'm not even familiar with. I had to actually pull the manual out online and read about all that back-end stuff.
Yeah, we don't wanna get too sophisticated, we wanna keep it simple.
Just the procedures, yeah.
Just the procedures.
Yeah,
so
I
that
figured I had a little bit in, but if you're interested to learn more, you're more than welcome to Google the manual. It is online, the specs and stuff.
A fair point, if
It-
anybody's interested in digging in, they're more than welcome to do so.
It is there. They're considered, this kind of unit's considered for simple operation. Pages are entered with a 16-button keypad. This is ours, I took a picture of. This is 16, you got the 16, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 9. So it's supposed to be fairly simple to use. It's not like I spent a long time learning Riverdale's where everything was located because they have a couple of desks, a lot more, you know, on a console. But this one should be easy to learn. It's the practice that's going to make it perfect for testing. LED display for verification before being sent. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but there's a little screen. Each one, it has each district, each fire district, EMS and OEM, they have their own code. These are the codes over here. They're all taped to each Zetron. So each one of these has one. So you'll know the code. For Fire District 1, it's 01. District 2, it's 02. All the way up to 6, which is 06 for District 6. And if we were going to tone out all the fire districts at once, if that was needed, it'll be 07 for our Zetron. We're going to talk about more. There's more of a procedure, how that's done, but those are the different codes. They're all taped there. EMS dispatch, it goes by 65, 66, 69. So that's the code you would punch in. You would see it on the LED display over there. OEM doesn't goes by in the 90s, 91 for OEM all call. That's a little confusing. That's something we're going to have to clear up over here. This might be an old thing. We might have to make a new little code sheet over here because I'm not sure what OEM 2, OEM 3 is, OEM 4. I just know it as OEM is OEM. Unless they say hazmat, which doesn't get a separate tone, you'll just hear the word hazmat. You don't respond unless you're on the team. So we'll review that, but most of the time I believe they use 91, which will be, the set off the OEM tone.
Mm-hmm. Jay will know.
Jay, that's something with Jay we could check and then update. And then the sirens are different. The District 1, if you just need the tone set off, you would go 01 and set off the pager for the fire. If you're going to set off the siren, if it's a fire call, and not a message or anything like that, you would be doing 21 for District 1 siren, 22 for District 2, and so on. So that sheet you can look over with. A special key is provided to clear an invalid entry or abort a page in progress. That key is located, I believe it's the top one over there, clear. Not the red one one's the page. So the top right button is the clear button. It clears the LED display. So you know it's clear. You don't want to send out the wrong tone and stuff, so you always look at that display. And if you're going to start a new page, we're going to learn on the next page that you always make sure it's clear. A page can be repeated simply by pressing the page key again, as long as the last page code is still in display. So always look at your display before pressing page. So because if you press page, you might be toning out the wrong district, you might have an invalid entry, you might forget the 01, or you might forget. The LED display is very important for you to check before hitting that red button. Because once you hit that red button, the tones are going out. That's it. Or they're not going out because you made an error. And you could be delaying an emergency. The paging cycle is always indicated in the display. And that's to eliminate confusion. And it's right in front of you. At Riverdale, I sit a couple feet away from the desk and I have to look at, at the thing and zoom in. So this is actually, I find this more convenient.
So question for you, Nick.
Yes.
How do we know that the page went out successfully?
Oh, you listen. Yeah, so you would listen. Over there you have the radios, or you could have a pager in front of you and you listen. Mm-hmm. And you don't start talking. There's a procedure thing. I'm gonna have another page.
Sure.
But you're gonna say something on the radio, transmit first. So in that case, I'm gonna skip ahead. You're gonna make an example. Standby District 1. And then you're gonna set off the tones. The tones are going to go out. You're going to listen. Once the tones are finished and complete and everything's done, then you send your message over the repeater. District 1, respond to, blah, 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 and all that. But it's important to have a radio. You have a radio there you can listen to. You can have a pager in front of you, whatever makes work, but it's important to listen. Because you got to know when to start talking and not to talk over the tones, because they're not going to hear it.
You said send the message over the repeater. Would that go over?
Not the repeater, I meant the fire dispatch, I'm sorry. I know we use the ham radio, we have a fire dispatch or EMS dispatch over the fire repeater, EMS repeater, that's what I meant. So, yeah, that's a very good point, thank you. Each Zetron has the 2-digit numeric codes that activate the pager. They're taped to each unit. First determine which service is to be paged and what their 2-digit code is. That's going to be your little cheat sheet over there. Before using the Zetron, the proper channel must be set for the radio the Zetron is attached to. This is something we're going to do the testing on, make sure we know how to use. That's something I'm not familiar with because I don't know the schematics behind it, what's hooked up to what. It could be that one's working, it could be the other one's not working. That's something we're going to get to, but the proper channel must be set. If you're dispatching fire, fire dispatch. You're dispatching EMS, OEM, rescue recovery, you're talking on EMS dispatch. So it's important. A lot of times you could get very easily confused. Over there, a lot of places we have separate radios, separate controllers, transmitters for each. Some places we don't. In this case, you're gonna learn how to switch the actual radio over there from EMS to fire and stuff, and looking at the display. Okay, it says EMS, I can transmit, or it says fire. EMS units, rescue recovery, OEM. It's got to be set to the EMS dispatch. For fire districts, the radio must be set to fire dispatch.
Then you can start.
Question.
Question, yeah.
No, Nick, hang on. Nick, he gives you a signal, then you continue.
Okay.
I put you on remote.
Do you have any questions? Tone out a single service.
I get on the way home.
You're going to listen to the channel for any other stations and wait for the units to finish their transmissions before using the Zetron. This is very important. Yeah, the first thing you do, I would wait a minute or 2 minutes, especially if it's not an emergency, to listen, to make sure that you're not going to overstep somebody. You also do not want to conduct a test, especially a test on the Zetron during an emergency. So if there's a fire going on, you hear a lot of action, there's an EMS call, somebody having a heart attack, anything. Gas leak, you name it, you wait. That test gets delayed, whatever, there's going to be a procedure in the book or something. You don't do any tests during an emergency. That's strictly going to get yelled at by firefighters and stuff like that, because I've done it on my first day, and that's not a good thing. So you stay away, you listen. Announce on the targeted radio channel the service being dispatched. For example, 65, you say standby, car 65. If it's a fire district, you say fire district. If it's OEM, it's OEM. So you say standby OEM. You hear it all the time if you listen to your monitor, your pager, standby this district. So you would start on that. You would transmit over the fire if it's fire, EMS if it's EMS. You're going to press the clear button on the Zetron, just to make sure that everything's cleared and nobody left the last transmission. You're not going to tone out somebody extra, something like that. So always press the clear button before you begin the Zetron. Then you're going to enter that 2-digit code, that pager code, that handy stick, whatever, the handy little sticker over there, using the keypad on the Zetron. Identify the services you need. Identify the code. A lot of times the OEM director, the incident commander will tell you what you need. Please tone out, District 1, this or that. Because since a lot of people probably don't know the area, how it's split up, who gets what, you'll probably be told that. So then you look on the code, you find the code, you put it in. Then you press the page button. That's when the tones start going out. You start listening, you have your pager there, you have your radio, you listen for the tones, you listen, once the tones are done, you can begin your next transmission, which is sending your message. The transmit light on the Zetron associated with the radio will go red. That means the page is being sent. Wait for the radio transmit light to return to green. I'm not sure if this one does it, I haven't tested it. Some of them do, some of them don't, but you'll see that it'll be clear, and you won't see the transmitting bars going across. Once the Zetron is finished sending the page, you're going to wait 15 seconds. That's the page is being sent out. You give it some time because the sirens are going off for the fire district or whatnot, and then begin the pager message. So you're going to say, for example, what do we hear? What is our code at the EOC?
670.
670. 670 to car 65, your ambulance is requested at the Baldwin Oaks for a male complaining of chest pains. This is an example. And difficulty breathing, then you repeat it. You always want to say the message twice in case they missed it once or whatnot. Car 65, respond to Baldwin Oaks for a male complaining of chest pains and difficulty breathing. Now this message is missing something important. What is this message missing? You tell 65 to go to Baldwin Oaks. Baldwin Oaks is huge. Where are they going? Where's the male having chest pains?
What floor, what building?
What floor, what building, what apartment, what area, in the back of the building, by the dumpsters, in front of the building, in the parking lot. Make sure you have all the information. You have to have the location. You have to format the message beforehand, so you know exactly what you're saying. The more information, the better. If you're giving a description of a person, if you're giving a description of the area, you never know who the incident commander is going to be. Most of the time they're familiar with the area, they know, but still you give the most information you have, but you also don't want to go too far. So everybody should know, there are radio class that we had review what to say and all those specifics. Once you're done, your tone is out, you press clear on the Zetron, so it's set for the next page. So you press clear, clear is going to be your friend, because if you don't press clear, You got that thing, you're gonna send out an extra page for somebody, and then you're gonna have to go standby, correction, and you know, it could be embarrassing. That's happened to me, it's happened to a lot of other oopsies. So always make sure you're clear. Make sure you put in your 2-digit code. You have your message thought out, what you're gonna say, the specific location, what's needed, if any apparatus is needed. Sometimes they request for rescue recovery. The person in charge will tell you, we need the air truck, or we need traffic cones, or whatnot. So make sure you have all that in your message, and that most of the time will be given to you by the OEM director, Racy's, whatever, whoever's in charge.
I just want to pause here and expand on something. When we were phoning out people from the EOC, we talked about identifying ourselves as 670. We've had other meetings recently where we've said it's okay to identify ourselves on the air as OEM. 670 or OEM, or EOC I should say, is fine. Neither one of them is wrong. 670 is our official numeric designation, but it's used so infrequently that other emergency services may forget what 670 means. So it's fine to say EOC to District 65. The other point is, we are not EMS dispatch. We are not fire dispatch. That's police. So even if we are dispatching people as part of our role in an active OEM situation, we're differentiating ourselves between OEM and between fire dispatch and EMS dispatch. So we don't lay claim to those labels, if you will. So just because we're doing the dispatching doesn't mean that we become, quote, EMS dispatch or, quote, fire dispatch. We are always either 670 or EOC or OEM. Any one of those three is fine. But we don't identify ourselves as EMS dispatch because we're dispatching an ambulance. So we don't identify ourselves as fire dispatch because we're dispatching a fire district. We identify ourselves as OEM. And they clearly then, the receiver then clearly understands where the dispatching is coming from, and it will avoid confusion down the road.
That is a good point. Thank you. Yeah, I forgot. I didn't mention that. Even though we use the EMS repeater, and you'll hear headquarters say EMS dispatch, we do it at our 670 or OEM or whatever, EOC, so they know the message is coming from OEM. So they know it's not coming from headquarters, so they know if they have any further questions, they'll say District 1, Chief 1, 2, OEM, and they can communicate with us, because we might have the information and headquarters might not. So that is a very good point. Thank you. All right, to tone out multiple emergency services simultaneously, you're going to listen to the channel for other stations. Same thing. Do not overstep anybody. Make sure that there's no emergencies going on. Announce on the targeted radio the service is being paged. Standby car 65, 66, 69, OEM. You're going to press the clear button again. Make sure that there's no recent transmissions. The last person might have not pressed it. Something might have happened. Always be safe. Press the clear button. Enter the pager code one at a time. Key in the 2-digit pager code using the keypad. That 16-digit keypad. You're going to look over here. Find the codes you need. You're going to press enter button after each code. So for example, you're going to need 65 and 66 to response to both ambulance squads. You're going to put in 65, enter, 66, enter. So you put it in, you're going to see it pop up on the display. You're going to make sure you have the codes. Right now there's a tone going out. Everybody has heard the tone, but I was hoping a tone would go out so you guys hear it. Police headquarters. So they're repeating it twice. And they're saying exactly where it is. They're responding to police headquarters right here. They're giving the address. They're in the front lobby, so they know exactly where they're going. It's clear. It's concise. They know exactly what to do. So that was a good example of a dispatch from EMS. So that'll be if we were dispatching in an emergency, we're operating 670 or OEM, whatever you want, to whatever got toned out, 65, car 65, please respond to, and the same thing, twice, clear, concise, all that. So should they sign on? So they mark it in a computer. If we were operating, we would mark it on our board, or we would mark it wherever on our clipboard. So
On our logs.
on our logs, yep. So we keep track of where everybody is. But going back to multiple services, you enter the pager code one at a time. You're going to press enter your next one. Then you press the enter button again, and so on until you're done. So if you're paging 2, you'll press 6-5, enter. Then you'll see it hop over one like a cursor, 6-6. If you need anybody else, you keep going. But if you don't, then you don't press enter until the last code. So say 66 was your last code, don't press enter because you're going to screw up the thing. The cursor is going to go one out, and it's going to read invalid. It's going to give you an invalid code. You gotta have to get used to that. You might do it the first couple of times. It's gonna happen, but that's why you gotta practice. So you don't have to waste time in an emergency when somebody needs an ambulance. Oops, my thing slipped. The next one, yes.
Nick, what happens if you hit the wrong number? You made a mistake.
You would have to press clear and start again. On this one, there's no backspace. It's not like a keyboard. The newer ones, you can press keyboard and quick backspace. Here, you press clear, you start again. 65, enter. 66, enter. Yeah, it's not like you can backspace. You're gonna have to clear, and once you clear the whole thing. So that's why once you get used to it, you start, especially running tests. Because when we run the OEM test, we're gonna run every test. We're gonna run the District 1, 2, 3. There's gonna be a whole sheet with that. I'll talk to Mike if he needs my help or whatever. We're gonna set that up, and that'll give you practice. So if you mess up, the first time, you try not to. Well, I'm gonna email this out so everybody can try to review it over, and then you just go slow. Especially if it's a test, you have time to practice. That's the purpose of a test, so everybody knows how to use it. If anybody's ever sitting at that desk, and hey, tone out District 1, so you know exactly what to do really quick. So that's practice makes perfect for everybody. So you do not press enter after the code because once again you're gonna have to clear and start over. Once all tone out codes have been entered, you press the page button. That's the red button on. I forgot to put the picture here, but everybody remembers the red button, far right corner. You can't miss it. It's the page button. That's the tones are going out.
Good question.
Yes.
If you put a number in like 68, will it give you an error? Does it know that 68
I am not
is
sure how this one's set up. In mine, it does give an error. It will say INV invalid or something like that. There's also been one time where I messed up and it sent out a tone for somebody else in a different town. I don't know how it would happen. It was reported in a report, and they would investigate that and see, to program. But always check. You got the LED display. You type in the wrong number, clear, start again. Because most of the time it'll give you an error code. That's what I would assume, because that's not something that's in the computer. That's not something that's going to recognize. But who knows? There might have been something accidentally misprogrammed. I don't think so, but anything is possible. But always check your numbers. Look at the LED display. Don't press page until you double checked it. Look at it. Okay, I got my right ones in. Page. Watch for the radio transmit light to turn green. So once you're sending it, it's going to be red. It's the same thing as you're doing a one-car dispatch or a one-unit. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to have to wait longer because it's sending out tones for 65 or 66 or 2 fire districts or whatever. So you're going to listen, once again, listen to see before you start transmitting the message. So the tones have been sent. Once the Zetron is finishing sending the page, wait the 15 seconds. You hear the tone stop. You begin your message. 671 to 670. It's supposed to be 670 if you're here. If you're at a field comm, it'll be 671.
Right.
To 65, 66, 69, OEM, respond to 222 New Road on structure fire. Once again, you repeat it again, 671 to 65, 66, 69, OEM, respond to 222 New Road for a structure fire. That's what we had the other day. So that's an example. They're repeating it twice. They're telling you exactly where to go. Once your page is done, you press clear, so it's set again for the next page. So anybody have any questions?
So you start and stop with clear.
Yes, you start with clear and stop with clear. Now, even if you see clear, you always want to press clear first because sometimes mistakes happen. Just to be on the safe side, always start with clear. Press that clear button before putting in the codes because you never know. It might work, but then you're giving them that extra thing because if you mess up, you're gonna waste time saying stand by for a correction.
Right.
So start with clear, stop with clear.
I have a question.
Yes.
Under what circumstances would we be dispatching instead of headquarters?
It could be different. We could be operating, for example, I wasn't here during Irene. I kind of only found out about OEM. It's under the direction, you'll always be told by the incident commander. It's going to be maybe, you never know. What if the system goes down at headquarters? The plectrons go down, and we have to take take over. We will be dispatching out of here. They might be backed up on dispatching. During Sandy, there was a lot of calls going on. So they could have asked us to help. There could be different situations that we may need to be using. Also drills, including drills. Yes. Okay, so that was a great question. The question was that if we needed mutual aid assistance, for example, on a highway accident or something from Boonton, Montville, Mountain Lakes, or whatever, how do we get in touch with them, and how can we do that from here? Now, our pagers will not do that. We don't have our tones set up like that. We would have to either contact them by phone, pick up the phone and contact the department, or we can use the county mirrors radio and say, Parsippany OEM to Mountain Lakes. They're going to say, go ahead. Parsippany is requesting your Mountain Lakes unit to respond to whatever, 287 mile marker, be precise so they know exactly where they're going, because especially if they're coming from a different town, they're not going to know the area as good as our guys know it. So you're going to be precise, 287 mile marker 44 on a motor vehicle accident, and then Mountain Lakes, for example, is going to transmit the tones out and send their guys out. So that's the way it's going to work. Now, a lot of these, we have a county communication center here in Morris County. A lot of them, the county mirrors, when you talk, it's going to go right to the county. So whoever's radio it hits or however they work, they're going to pick up that. There's a few towns such as Riverdale, we don't go through the county. Butler gets our 911 calls, and then they're transferred over to us. So that's a very good question. So that's the way you would work mutual aid. Become familiar with the mirrors radio, how to use it. Remember that everybody can hear you in the county. I didn't even know the park police have it, the sheriff's office has it. A lot of throughout the county have this radio, and you can talk to them. Now, if you needed state police, say anything that happens on the highway is state police territory, so they might ask for a state police trooper to come out. We do have a SPEN network. I've learned that a lot of times they don't monitor that radio, or it's very fuzzy, very difficult to hear. The best thing I would recommend was to pick up the phone and call the state police and tell them what's going on. But you could also try the SPEN radio, and if that doesn't work right away, you don't hear a response from them, then you go over the phone, give them the exact information, what they need, where they're going. So that's a very good question. Same thing if you ever need a sheriff's office or a crime scene, you can also go over the mirrors radio and tell them. If you're given sensitive information, remember it's always better to do it over the phone. Keep your messages short. If there's something that shouldn't go over the radio, or you're not sure, then don't put it over the radio. Call them by phone and say, okay, we have this going on.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Last week something happened on Route 10, so they request ambulance, Parsippany ambulance, but they said that they were busy, so they told some different district like Morris Plains or Seton Halls to go there. Now, who will make sure that the dispatch is making sure that who should go and who is it?
Well, the thing is, if it happened in Parsippany, let's just say the chief arrived and says, they might not have enough volunteers or something, and they need an extra unit. You go to OEM, you go to headquarters. Unless we're operating as OEM, you go to headquarters. They receive the message, and they're going to go over the county mirrors, or if we're operating, we are going to do it. Over the mirrors or over the phone, relay the message to the correct department, to the county if the county is dispatching them, or to the department, and they're going to tone them out. Once they're in service, they're going to let us know. They're supposed to let us know that Mountain Lakes, for example, in my other example, is in service. The county should come back and say. That way I put it on my CAD, which is a computer-aided dispatch, or we would mark it over here. Okay, Mountain Lake's on its way. And then we would tell the chief, hey, we won't say hey, we would say OEM to Chief 1 if it's in Powder Mill on Route 10. He's going to say, go ahead. Mountain Lakes rig is in service to your location. So now you notified him that that district, wherever the mutual aid's on its way. Sometimes the county will fail to do that. It happens. Things get tied up. They forget. You could always double check. You could always go back to the county meters and say Parsippany OEM, or if we're operating, we would not operate as headquarters unless you're dispatcher. Headquarters to the county. Is checking the status of my rig for Route 10, and they're gonna know what's going on. If the chief signed on, who's going. So that's a good question. So that's the way it operates. We have to work with each other. Dispatching is teamwork. So you always have to listen to the radios, a lot of them together. Here, you gotta listen to the county mirror sometimes when you're operating, because you might be called there. You gotta listen to the phone. You gotta listen to your fire. You got EMS. You gotta listen to the people here. You might have CERT members here. Listening is very important. You try to keep that room as quiet as possible, a dispatch room as quiet as possible, so you can hear, you can concentrate, because everything hits the fan at once usually. I could be sitting there for hours and we're very quiet, or sometimes we get 2 or 3 things at once. I had a call the other day. We had a motor vehicle accident on 23. I dispatched the services. They said it was airbag deployment, so we had EMS going on, we had fire going out and all that. I kept getting millions of 911 calls transferred to me saying, there's an accident on 23. There's an accident on 23. The cops are already out there. Unless they're lying to me, they already signed on, they see the lights flashing, they're still calling. This can happen, here if we're operating. This happens at headquarters. So you got to take care of every call. Okay, we got it. Okay, we got it. And pass the message along, because if you stay on the phone, I'm one dispatcher in Riverdale. We don't, if everything calls at once, I'm by myself. Nobody usually jumps in, unless the really thing, then an officer will come in and help. But it's important to concentrate, and it's important to stay calm, take deep breaths. It's nerve-wracking at first. It was, when I was here for Sandy, I was here operating that desk. It wasn't easy, because it was my first, major emergency that I was activated in, and it just takes time, concentration, knowing where everybody is, keeping your paper clean, making sure that it's logged correctly, so you know who's on scene. Because a lot of times, the chief or somebody will come back and say, "Are you clear? Let me clear my CAD system." Yes.
Okay.
A clear button is so that the memory in the Zetron is not held, so that the next time you do a page, you're accidentally paging the wrong service.
Now, once you release the key, if you press it again and continue to talk, it's just going to that particular...
You're just talking on the fire dispatch channel or
That's
the
it.
EMS dispatch channel. Yep,
Okay.
that's very good. You're not clearing any tones. Once you send the page, they're going out. I don't know what happens if it's paging out, you press clear. I don't think anything should happen. Those tones are still going out because it's already transmitting. It's already in the relay. It's already being sent to the pagers. But that's a good question. Yep.
About the only way that you could interrupt that, as I understand it, would be to turn the radio off. Don't do that. If everybody makes mistakes, if you made a mistake, just as Nick has already said, let it finish and then resend out whatever the tones are with the corrections, saying, correction on X, Y, Z, to correct whatever the error was.
Yep. Any other questions? Any other things?
And sometimes they cancel also. Suppose somebody requests ambulance, and after 2 minutes or 3 minutes they said cancel the request.
That it's very iffy. It's up to them. We never decide if they're going or not. It's up to their lieutenant, their captain, whoever's in charge of them. They make the decision. If we're asked to tone them out, we tone them out. If they want to cancel, they'll tell us they cancel. We don't cancel anybody. A lot of times, that officer will arrive on the scene and they'll say, "Cancel that unit. It's not needed." Pick the person up. That's up to them. Sometimes, they'll say, "Okay, you can cancel," or sometimes they'll still come and make a report. That's up to their standard operating procedures.
But that's an important distinction. We don't make the decision to cancel.
Yep.
Someone is telling us to cancel whatever service.
Mhm.
and
We can
usually-
relay that message
we can-
over, but that's not our decision. They are going to tell you what they want.
Sometimes if we send out tones for 65, and who's ever asking for 65, let's say that it's a fire call, a fire alarm call, and the fire chief will get on and say, dispatch, you can cancel 65. you can resend out the tones and say District 60, car 65, cancel the whatever call. You can certainly do that, but the point is, we don't make the decision about canceling. It's once the services are toned out, then it's up to them to work out who gets canceled and who doesn't. If you listen to the radio enough times, you'll hear there are plenty of instances where you'll hear the ambulances tell the medics that they're canceled because they're not really needed on a call. It may have sounded like a serious call, like somebody's complaining of chest pains. They show up at the call and they discover that it's just somebody having an anxiety attack. They'll call the medics and say, we don't need you here, you're canceled. Medics will say, okay, thanks, we're out of the picture, because they're doing direct communications. Other times, you'll hear the fire district come on because it's a separate channel. Fire district might say, dispatch, you can cancel 65. Then we would get on, we would throw out the tones, and we would say 65 are canceled.
Now, these pagers have the ability to pick up conversations, even though that particular pager wasn't paged?
Yes, they do.
We have our different codes, so ours are supposed to be programmed A's only for OEM. So if you have it on channel A, you're only going to hear OEM tones. Even hazmat, but you're going to hear the word hazmat, OEM hazmat, because we all get the same OEM tones. B, I believe it's only OEM on vibrate mode.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear it vibrate in case you're in a meeting or something. You'll hear it. C is fire dispatch only. And D is everybody. You'll hear EMS and fire dispatch.
So D is basically opening up the pager so that you can listen to all the radio traffic going on.
You'll hear
Fire
OEM, you'll hear
dispatch,
EMS, you'll hear
or
fire.
EMS.
Yep, you'll hear everybody.
Otherwise, you can quiet, if you will, the pager so that you only hear
Your
the
own
pager
call.
when the tones go off.
You're not going to hear Fireground 1 on here. You're not going to hear any of the Fireground channels. You're only going to hear what's going on fire dispatch or EMS dispatch or whatever you're listening to.
Right. And then once the pager does go off, you have to reset the pager. Otherwise, you can't quiet it again until you reset it.
The new pagers, they have a playback button, so you can replay the tone again. So if you didn't hear the message or what's going on, or you missed it, and I see a red light, let me press it and see what it has. The right dispatchers will also give the time of the call. A lot of them don't do that. They don't have time. They forget. Time now, at the end of the call, they'll say, okay, dispatch here, we're replying to Baldwin Oaks, blah, 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 give all the information. Time now, 17:55. That's telling you that's when they're toned out. So, okay, you know what, I just saw it, it's 18, I might still make it to the call, let me make it to my building, So that's a good thing to remember, in your mind, to give the time of the call. That's part of procedures of learning.
Sometime I heard, after message they said case something. That means
Times and numbers.
Times and numbers.
Yeah.
That means every case, anything you go, everything is recorded, everything is logged. It has a number, a case number, something that they can reference to. They're going to ask you for times and numbers. A lot of times, we're the ones who are calling. If we're coming back from OEM, can we get our times and numbers? Times means is the time they've been dispatched. Number is the case number assigned to the thing. Police have their own case numbers. Fire have their own codes. EMS. That's something they can reference. Everything should be filed, so at any time the state wants to see, or somebody requests, they can go back and every call. So they're like, oh, I wasn't here before. We know our CAD system records every time. So if we responded to a person for chest pains, you know what I mean, one time, and they call, again, then the next time we know how many times the officers, the EMS, it tallies it. It gives you a number, how many times, or it gives it by date too. And every report, the officers a lot of times come back to me and they ask, were we there before? Was there priors?
Yeah, the case number thing is not something that we would have ourselves.
No.
And that's actually happened in the past where we've dispatched people out, again, I think it was mostly during Hurricane Irene, where EMS would come back to us and ask us for times and numbers, and we could give them the time, but we couldn't give them the case number.
Yeah.
Because that was only at headquarters.
That's a
So-
CAD system. It's a lot of times they all use different law soft or something like that. That creates the case number.
Right, and the point being, we're not free to create our own out of thin air.
No, because they're not going to match. When somebody comes to get their report or something like that, they have to. Yep.
But
only comes
I
from
think we're kinda drifting off topic, it was really
Yeah.
about training on what the Zetron is all about.
Zetron, right.
We
Anybody
can-
who
we
wants to be
should
future
actually-
dispatchers.
We should have a separate class just on town comms.
Radio
to
protocol.
talk about
We can
all
set
these
that up, too.
protocols. We should do that, but anyway, any other questions about the Zetron? I'll take that as a no, thank
Do
you.
you have another one?
Yeah, in behalf of all OEM members, we'd like to thank you for your time. We got a lot of new
Okay.
information. Thank you very much.
All right, no problem.